sort of how would you assess sort of the state of the secondhand equipment market?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we're kind of one of those companies that is really uniquely positioned to kind of have some insights based on what we do all across the globe, all our sites and all of our channels. But it's been a pretty volatile market, a pretty interesting market overall. Equipment demand through 2022 has really remained very, very strong. New supply has still remained constrained, and that's created significant demand through the end users and trying to find the right equipment for the right projects that they've got going on. So it's been robust that way, and the pricing's really remained pretty robust throughout 2022.
That's one of the things I was gonna talk about. I mean, it's quite an obvious thing to say, but obviously we all know kind of the difficulties that a lot of the OEMs have in terms of getting out their products, and lead times could be a year or kind of maybe more. Kind of obviously that kind of presumably makes people's demand for the secondhand equipment kind of even stronger.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. And so we've seen that firsthand. One of our transaction channels is a marketplace, and we've seen a lot more interest in that product. It's been our fastest growing transactional channel in 2022, and all of that is because of some of that constraint in the market. And they've got a bit more control on pricing and the way to transact. But you really have seen that it's a bit of a seller's market right now.
And if you were sort of getting out your kind of crystal ball, what would be kind of your kind of expectations for 2023 in terms of kind of, is that going to stay the same? Is that going to become even, is it going to become even more difficult, to kind of get new equipment? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, we're optimistic about 2023. You've kind of got this cocktail right now of uncertainty based on everything going on. We talked about supply. That's one of the factors. You've got this geopolitical, issues going on in Europe and, with Ukraine. And, in addition to that, you still have activity in COVID, based on the time of month and where we're at in that whole cycle. We just held an international meeting, and some of our colleagues, as an example from APAC, weren't able to make it to the meeting because there's still constraints in different markets because of the pandemic. So you've just got this pretty wild cocktail right now of circumstances that really make it a bit murky to be able to forecast, and you've got inflation on top of that. But when we step back, we're running simulations on what the market could be, and we're tending to be a bit more optimistic. We're actually bullish on 2023, and we're actually, as a team, actively adding to our team to better support our customers in 2023 and beyond.
I mean, it really does feel like, construction is such an essential industry, isn't it? And, there's always going to, need construction work. So I do feel like we're much better placed than a lot of other industries in terms of kind of going forwards, as you say, to face all of these challenges that are going on in the world at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I don't know if you'd be able to kind of put an exact figure on it for me, but I'm just kind of interested in kind of if we, quite how big, the secondhand construction equipment kind of market is, and if you'd kind of be able to put a dollar sort of figure on it, or kind of give us like an indication about maybe kind of how much construction equipment you guys kind of help to sell every year.
Yeah, most of our numbers, as we publish financially, are public. We haven't announced our full 22 numbers at this point in time, but we do have our sales volume and transactions out there in the marketplace today. When it comes to the overall market, we look at equipment disposition globally, being well over $300 billion a year. And so, for us, it's quite an exciting opportunity when you really think about, all of the markets and all of the different ways of disposition that our customers seek to use.
Okay, great, thanks. And I'm also interested, obviously, kind of you guys are kind of global and kind of selling to different markets. I mean, I'm realizing we might kind of be generalizing slightly here, but what are some of the key differences between different markets, like, North America or Europe or Asia, say?
Yeah, it's a lot of it comes down to spec, a fair bit to requirements in different markets. Emissions could be one of those factors.
Hmm.
So it really just depends on the different equipment types. You take, different parts of Europe. They use a very high spec machine. Could be because of climate requirements. Could be, just because of the utilization of those machines in the application they're in. And you see a whole wide range of that, globally. So market to market, you do see quite a bit of variance. And
Hmm.
that's one of the things we talk to our customers about all the time is how do we leverage, our channels, our global footprint to help them get, the best recovery on those assets? Is it in market where those assets are now, or could it be a different market that we can leverage? And the other thing that's been quite volatile in 2022, and we're at least forecasting some volatility in 23, is currency. And currency also plays, a major role in thinking through disposition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wonder as well, in terms of, we talked about those differences in those markets. Are there any, but kind of those particular markets that you've sort of seen especially kind of strong growth in or kind of sales in? I mean, just for example, I know it's slightly different, but you look at Volvo, CE, and Caterpillar have recently released their results, and both of them have been saying, North America very strong. I wondered if that's the same for you guys, or if there's a different region that you'd pinpoint.
Yeah, North America's been strong, and also the currency piece has played in a favorable way into that market for the equipment that's right for that market. We've also seen parts of APAC be very, very strong. Australia's been quite strong, and the Middle East, we've seen a lot of demand in that market as well.
Hmm. Okay, great. So we touched a little bit before on kind of changing emissions kind of regulations and how they could be a driver. I wonder if maybe there's a little bit more you could add to that, and also to kind of ask whether you guys are kind of seeing kind of increased sales in kind of alternative powered equipment, or whether that's still something that maybe might come a little bit further on down the line for you.
I so if we just kind of go with the two different parts of that, separate that out a little bit. Like we're very aware of what the emissions regulations are from market to market, and moving, exporting, importing equipment around the globe, is something we do every day. So we're
Yeah.
we're very aware of that. So we do, communicate with our consigners, based on regulatory requirements, the best places to be able to sell that equipment. And we play according to those rules. So it's really laid out by the governments into, to what regulations we need to follow and they need to follow. And so we work within those parameters. The alternative fuels is very interesting and certainly is growing, especially in Europe, probably Europe more so than any other part of the world. And
Hmm.
there's definitely going to be a need to be able to work through, those assets in a good way as they come through that life cycle. And we've had several of our large strategic customers, working with us, asking questions. With some of our umbrella companies like Rouse Data Services, they're trying to understand potential residual values and how they can think about life cycle with those products versus the traditional combustion machines. So it's a very interesting time in the industry that way. And again, a lot of that's been regulated into market here in Europe, way more so than some of the other markets.
Hmm. I mean, that, as you said, that could potentially be a really interesting point, isn't it? In terms of kind of what is the residual value of some of these, say like a mini electric excavator or something like that. Kind of what is that? Is that worth when it's 7 years old or 9 years old or something like that? And I imagine that I mean, I guess the market in a case will kind of tell you a little bit, but I suppose that there must be a lot of data that you guys are looking at as well to try to kind of come up with ideas about that.
Yeah, that's some of the value that we're able to bring some of these customers based on the breadth of product that we handle. So it's, if we think about forklifts as a good example, forklifts for a long time have had multiple different different driving mechanisms for the vehicles, whether it's combustion or whether it's gas, whether it's battery powered. And so we've got some historical based on that you can lean into and learn from, and then also some guidance on just what drives some of those values. The maintenance on those types of assets is very important. The confidence, in the battery life on a battery powered asset, as an example, is a large part of the residual value on those assets when they come to the secondhand market. So, we're certainly willing, always happy and willing to have those conversations with our customers as they're thinking through some of that.
Definitely. Okay. I'm just interested as well in terms of, again, I'm sure it depends on kind of different markets, but one of the sort of the areas that we cover quite a lot is construction technology. And I was just wondering if you've sort of seen certain customers in different markets maybe prioritizing machines that have some kind of technology kind of built into them, and kind of what that might kind of do to the price of those machines as well.
It certainly, depending on the technology, there's value, especially in grading and assist type of systems. A lot of times, the customers will keep those with the machines, but they might be grade ready, as an example. There's some value in that. We're sure to call out any of those types of assets, and any of the features and option sets they have as we're looking to remarket that. But you do see a variance in the value that's driven from that with some of the systems. Some are quite intricate, and sometimes even on their own, those assets can bring quite a bit of money.
Okay, great. So I'm just curious as well about kind of your guys and kind of how much of your business is now online in terms of kind of the virtual events. Like, I'm aware that before the pandemic you had virtual events, but obviously with the pandemic that accelerated that kind of process. And whether you think that some demand for in-person events will always still be there.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We actually started the migration to online long before the pandemic, and actually even before the pandemic, and a lot of our sales, up to 70-80% of the bidding would be online, even though we had the live in-person theater type of events. So we were fortunate that we had the ability to be able to transition the business. And for us, it probably, it sped up a bit the ability for customers to become more comfortable with technology, because they were forced to during that time. And it provided us really, the ability to learn a lot about the best ways to serve our customers. So, we've been fully online, really even years before the pandemic in all of our selling channels. Now we've been able to learn how to best connect buyers with equipment, consigners equipment, in a much better way digitally. So we get some real value, out of what we use in our digital properties and how we sell assets. There's still a real big draw in having face-to-face connectivity. We still get a large flow through especially from our buyers pre-auction, and we hold events at the sites to connect them. What we found, though, is a very strong comfort level with the buyers to make the transaction digitally, and to not have to be in person per se for days to select the assets that they're looking for. So for us, it's been a bit of a migration. We do live auctioneering around the world at different events all the time. We'll have in-person bidding at certain events around the world. The Orlando sale, as an example, for Ritchie Bros, is in a few weeks in February here. Looks like it's going to be a wonderful sale, and we'll be in person. So we're always open and interested in our customer feedback and the best way to serve them. But the real learning for us is that there's been a real migration to the digital bidding, and that works out great for the buyers. It also works out great for us in connecting those potential buyers with the assets that our customers have listed, our consigners have listed. So it's an interesting journey. We're looking, we've got our footprint. We actually have more locations for storage now than we did before the pandemic started. So really, it's about care and control with the customers, and how we leverage our footprint in the best way. And then, like I say, bringing connectivity around sale day and sale time.
Okay, great, thank you. And you might not be able to tell me, I'm not expecting you to tell me kind of specific kind of company names, but I just kind of wonder how better at some kind of equipment brands are keeping their value than others, and kind of how, you know, is it a difference of, 5% between, the same kind of weight of excavator, or can it be even bigger than that?
Yeah, I mean, you just have a really pretty wide swath when you look at all the asset classes we have. And for us, we're fortunate that we get to deal with, just about every brand that's in the marketplace today. So we see a lot of them. What really drives the value, overall is really the end user and how they've taken care of the equipment. So
Mhm.
we see the maintenance and care of the product be a much bigger impact on residual value than we do the brands. Brands certainly got value, and I'm historically an OEM guy, so I've got that orientation. But we see, the care of the equipment, the presentation of the equipment, and really what's important and a lot of people may take for granted is the ability for us to have enough time to properly market the asset drives a lot more in the residual and the pricing than the particular brands do.
Okay, sure. So my final question really would be, if I was to speak to you in 3 years' time or 5 years' time or something like that, what are kind of some of your kind of goals for the company? Kind of where would you like the company to be in, 3 to 5 years' time?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's an exciting question for us at Ritchie Brothers. So we've been on a bit of a journey as a company overall. We started in 60 plus years strong in the auction industry, but really over the last handful of years, our focus has been on providing more tools and more solutions to our customers to attack that $300 billion market that I talked about. And so, I see a greater service offering to our customers, whether it's data services. One of our acquisitions recently was Smart Equip that provides a parts mechanism for our customers. In addition to the transactional channels, we've got listing services and Mascus and Ritchie List and our marketplace, and then of course our auction channels, which is our, which we're the global leader in. So, for us, it's really about bringing more tools to our customers that help them throughout the life cycle of the equipment that they're utilizing, and then to be there for them when they're ready to transition the fleet.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for your time, Sam. I really appreciate it.
You bet. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it, Andy.